Welcome to the new release spotlight for the week of May 16th, 2023. I am Lee Colazzo, also known as Mrs. Reader Pants, and I do the new release spotlight every week on Tuesdays. So welcome. Today we have several good books in the YA, middle grade, and picture books category, and I really don't think any one category stands out over the other this week. Maybe YA is a little bit better, but they're all very, very strong. So before we get started, just a couple of quick things. All of the grade levels that I recommend are a range from professional reviewers on tidal wave. So if one reviewer recommends grades 3 through 7 and another reviewer recommends 5 through 8, the range would be 3 through 8 is what I put. Every book that I have in this video spotlight and also the written spotlight on my blog includes 2 or more professional positive reviews on tidal wave. So a lot of schools are not allowed to purchase, a lot of librarians can't purchase books unless they have at least 2 positive professional reviews. So you are covered there. They're all on tidal wave as well. So let's get started. Okay, first up we have our young adult titles. These are titles recommended for grades 7+, and I have 4 young adult titles for you today. Okay, our first YA title today is 83 Days in Mariupol. This is set in 2022 in Ukraine, and it is about the current ongoing situation in Ukraine with the Russia invasion of Ukraine. This is a nonfiction graphic novel by author Don Brown, who is kind of a big one with YA nonfiction graphic novels. He wrote The Unwanted in 2018, Drowned City, which was about Hurricane Katrina, and also In the Shadow of the Fallen Towers. He's been nominated for the Siebert Medal at least twice, and also has won or has been nominated for the YA YALSA Excellence in Nonfiction Award. So this is a big author. Please be careful on Goodreads. They have mixed this Don Brown with another adult author, Don Brown, who also writes about war. They have mixed the titles of these 2 authors, so they are 2 different people. This is the YA author. There's also Dan Brown, who wrote the Angels and Demons books. So yeah, it's confusing, but just know that this is the YA one. This book received 3-starred reviews, and it's rated for grades 9 through 12 because the horrors in the book, the horrors of war, are honestly depicted. So there's rape, there's mass graves, there's violence. So definitely want to be judicious if you're a middle school librarian. This is recommended for 9 through 12. Okay, next up we have From Here. This is a memoir by a queer Jordanian American author. When she was a teen in the 80s in Jordan, she couldn't come out. She was afraid to come out as lesbian. Her family would never have allowed that, and also she could have been put to death in Jordan. So when she went to college in the United States and she was in an environment where she felt more comfortable coming out, she did. And her family, of course, didn't like that. They are a prominent family in Jordan with connections to the royal family. And they actually, through their connections, managed to get the FBI in the US to try and get her to deport her back to Jordan to be with her family. So she applied for refugee status and under political asylum, and she was granted that. So this author is now the founder of a movement called the Fuji Family, which is for refugees looking for like a found family in the U.S. This is Publishers Weekly and Kirkus starred and is recommended for grades 9 through 12. And our next YA is All the Dead Lie Down. This is a gothic horror novel, thriller, mystery. Actually, I read Verity by Colleen Hoover relatively recently. I wasn't a huge fan of that book, but a lot of people are, and you may have students asking for books like that in the library. This could be a good choice. I'm going to tell you about it, and if you've read Verity, you'll kind of see some connections here. This is about a young girl named Marin whose mother dies, and she is 17 years old. Marin is 17. So Marin goes, she's given a chance to be a nanny to two little girls that the person is a acclaimed writer, lives on a big estate on the seaside in Maine. It was beautiful. And she's going to be a nanny to these two little girls. Well, the two little girls have like all these weird pranks that they do that are kind of macabre. There's a dark gothic sort of feel to the mansion. And then later, the older daughter of the author comes home, and there's a little romance there between Marin and the older daughter. But you can see, if you've read Verity, it's kind of like that, where you have like an author, a famous author who lives in this big grand house and has weird kids. And there's somebody there in Verity, she wasn't there to be a nanny to the kids. But anyway, it might be a good choice for those Colleen Hoover requests that we get in high school. This is Kirkus and Booklist starred and is recommended for grades 9 through 12. And I do want to mention too, this author she won the William C. Morris Award for If These Wings Could Fly in 2021. So that award is given for debut authors, and she's also the author of We Can Be Heroes. So kind of a bigger deal author, definitely an up-and-coming author. Okay, next up we have As Long as We're Together. This is a realistic fiction title by the author of Briarcliff Prep, which came out last year. This reminds me of the 90s TV show Party of Five. If you watch that, as I'm telling you about it, you will definitely have some flashbacks from that show. This is told from the perspective of the second oldest in a very large family of 7 children. So the narrator is 16 years old. She does have an older sister who's 18, who is getting ready to start college. And the 16-year-old is somewhat resentful of her parents because they work all the time, and she is constantly left in charge of the younger siblings to give them baths and feed them and all the things that need to go on for younger siblings. So anyway, unfortunately, the parents get into a car accident early on, and they both die, leaving these 7 kids to fend for themselves. The oldest sibling decides not to go to college, and because she's 18, she's able to get a judge to agree that she can keep the family together in their same house for a year, and they'll periodically check in on them and see how they're doing. They are also going to run the parents' or the family's dog grooming and doggy daycare business. So throw in a lot of dog stuff in there as well. Obviously, that's going to be very difficult for these kids to do. And if you saw, there was another movie in the 80s that I remembered with Andrew McCarthy that kind of reminded me of this as well, called The Vinegar Gang. So another flashback there. I think this will be very, very easy to book talk with high school students, and it is Publishers Weekly starred and recommended for grades 7+. All right, and we're moving on to our middle grade titles. These are recommended for grades 3 through 8. I do want to mention that I didn't choose the recommended grade levels. These are from the professional reviewers on Tidal Wave. All of the reviews that I do have at least 2 professional reviews on Tidal Wave. Many of them are starred as well, but it's a range of what's recommended. So if one title gets a recommendation of grades 3 through 7, one reviewer recommends that, and then one reviewer recommends grades 5 through 8, the range would be grades 3 through 8. So I just want to clarify that. Our first title is The Remarkable Rescue at Milkweed Meadow. This one I had one last week that was also from the perspective of animals. This one is about rabbits, and they live it's a bunch of woodland animals that live in Milkweed Meadow. And the main character is this little female rabbit who has some kind of anxiety about things, and she's been taught to stay away from the other animals her whole life. However, this is about taking risks, helping others, which she'll do, and making new friends. I think this would be a great book for the beginning of the school year for elementary grades. It is recommended for grades 1 through 6. And I think that it's got a lot of themes that we like to talk about at the beginning of the year, like making new friends and trusting others and helping others and dealing with anxiety and stuff like that. So would be a great read aloud. This one got a whopping 3-starred reviews and is recommended, as I mentioned, for grades 1 through 6. Okay, next up we have Ruby, Lost and Found. This is realistic fiction from the author of Clues to the Universe from 2021. This is set in Chinatown in San Francisco, and it is about a young lady named Ruby who is Chinese American and a rising 8th grader. Earlier in the story, she had several things happen that were difficult for her to deal with as a 7th grader. Her grandfather died. He was well beloved for her, and she just was devastated by that. Then her best friend moved to New York, so quite far away, and she started getting in trouble at school. So now that it's summer, her parents are kind of fed up, and they decide that she needs to go and visit her grandmother in the senior center and just like stay with her during the day and keep her company and maybe help some of the other residents there. So Ruby's not happy about this, but she goes. And as it goes along, of course, she starts to enjoy being there and meeting the other residents and helping them. She also has a classmate of hers that is also at the center very often. And so they become friends. So she makes a new friend. This is a great representation of Chinatown in San Francisco. We have a lot of widely varied characters that are Chinese and speak Mandarin or Cantonese in the story. So there is that. This is got 3-starred reviews, so that's a big one, and it is recommended for grades 3 through 8. This is where this one is the range that I was talking about. We have there was one reviewer that recommended grades 6 through 8, and then others recommended 3 through 7. So this was quite a range. So you might want to have a look at this one if you're lower elementary, if you're like 3rd, 4th grade. I don't know why one recommended grades 6 through 8. And that's kind of high, and I don't see that very often. So I'm not sure if there's something in there that maybe makes it not great for elementary, but that's the range. Okay, next up we have There Flies the Witch. This is a fantasy story that kind of has a folklore feel to it. Students who are into books like The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill will love this. This is going to be a very easy sell for them. This is about a young lady named Red. Red has no memory of her life prior to living with a witch named Yakaka. The witch is a good witch. She, just like in The Girl Who Drank the Moon, Yakaka is a healer, and she travels the world, and they go around and they help people. And Red is learning her craft. There's an unfortunate accident that happens. They're on a dangerous mission, and they're flying over the ocean, and they fall. And Red finds herself washed up on a deserted island, and she's separated from Yakaka. She has no idea what happened to Yakaka. After a couple of days, a family finds her and takes her in and helps her to start to heal. She starts learning about her actual past and how she ended up with Yakaka and what happened. So this is recommended for grades 3 through 8, and it is BCCB starred. And our last group is picture books. These are generally recommended for grades pre-K through 5, but sometimes they can be for slightly older readers, which I will note in the descriptions. I have 3 picture books for you today. Our first book is Summer is for Cousins. This is awesome to read just before summer break. I love the colorful, joyful illustrations here. This is about a South Asian family that gets together every year at a summer lake house and have all kinds of summer fun. So this is particularly about a boy and his cousins, and it's been a year since he saw them last summer, and he's a little worried because not only has he gotten bigger, but the cousins have also gotten older, and will they still want to be friends or whatever? This is, I think, a common thing that kids worry about when they're seeing family, especially cousins their age, for the first time in a year. They don't realize how much they've also grown. So this has got 3-starred professional reviews and is recommended for grades pre-K through 3. Our next title is From Here to There by Vivian French. This one is great for your teachers to know about when they're teaching map skills. It's definitely one that you want in your library, and you need to tell your teachers that it's there. This is about a young lady who receives an invitation from her friend to come visit him at his house, and he's included a map in the invitation. But when she looks at the map, it's all wrong. Why is his house in the middle of the map and her house is way over on the side of the map? Her grandmother's house isn't even on the map at all. So what's up with that? So her father comes in and he is explaining to her how maps have different perspectives and different scale, and they cover different areas, and there's different types of maps. And he helps her learn to draw some maps, which she gets into. This is great for teaching map symbols and scale, perspective, all the different kinds of maps. Just a really, really awesome teaching tool. This one is School Library Connection and Kirkus starred and is recommended for grades preschool through 3. And our last picture book title for this week is BB by Joe Weaver. Look at this gorgeous cover. How beautiful is that? This is obviously about a flamingo. This is an older flamingo. BB actually means grandmother in Swahili. So this is about an older flamingo. She's very wise, and nobody really knows, none of the other flamingos know how long she's actually been in the flock, but it's been as long as anyone can remember. So she's quite old. There comes a time when the lake that they are in starts to dry up, and the flamingos need to migrate to a different lake. That's all fine and good, except the little flamingos, the babies, can't fly yet. So BB agrees to walk with the little chicks over to the next lake, which is a long journey and it's tiring, and she has to encourage the little chicks along the way because they get really tired. So, and she uses her wisdom to do that. So I really love this as a great book to talk about different generations and the wisdom of elders and things like that. It just looks really beautiful. On top of that, there is notes, source notes in the back matter that talk about a lake in Tanzania where there are a lot of flamingos, and that is what this area is based on, this story is based on. So really good. I always love picture books that have an international connection. So if you're looking for books about Africa and wildlife specifically in Africa, definitely want to give BB a look. This one is Kirkus and Booklist starred and is recommended for pre-K through grade 3. Okay, that's a wrap for our May 16th, 2023 Spotlight of the Spotlight video. You can find the full new release Spotlight on my blog at www.readerpants.net. I will link a direct link in the description below for this actual post. And you can see archives as well. I have all of the new release spotlights going back for more than a year. I do delete them after about a year. So, but you can see them all going back. You may have noticed that I tried a lot of different camera angles. I used different equipment this time to record, so the sound may have been a little different each time, and different lighting and things like that. Bear with me. This is only my 4th new release Spotlight video, and I'm still very much learning. So I'm sure it will continue next week with different angles and things. The new release Spotlight is published every Tuesday and has been since May 2016, so quite a long time. So I really appreciate you joining us today, and I hope that you will like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.